Alright, so I filled this up. I'm going to cut it rather large. Not like you're writing happy birthday, not like you're piping on the top of petty fours. It's a little bit bigger than that because these garnish are going to have to stand on their own on top of an 8-inch entremet. We're going to pick them up and stick them in. So they have to be able to hold their own. So they might look chunky now, but once you put them on an 8-inch entremet, they don't look quite as large. So big tip, if I was going to drop pipe with this, you see the thickness of the line right there? Pretty thick. And I'm going to actually do contact piping. So you take the bag, put it down on the paper, and you're going to squeeze, and you're going to do something that a lot of people tell me look like eyelashes or eyebrows or whatever. So you're just going to go and do some of these all the way down. Okay, there you go. So maybe you guys have this experience already and you'll have perfect eyebrows. All the way down in this direction. Do I have any lefties in the crowd?
Yay!
Yeah. Lefties in the crowd. This one's going to be awkward for you. But we have to do the other direction too, so that way it will be easier for you. So go all the way down, try to get as many as you can, nice arch shape. Notice how I have beautiful points. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to just go like and then pick it up and then have a ball at the end. That kind of is ugly. So nice tips and arching shape, sphere, tapered to a tip. If you don't taper it, you'll end up breaking them all right at the junction of the sphere and the stick. So just try to get it tapered. Once you go all the way in one direction, you can go in the other direction. So from this way will be awkward for the righties, but easier for the lefties. So I'm going to show you a method for either or to make it easier on yourself for the awkward way. So for the right-handed people, if you just turn this whole thing around, you can do smiles. And for the lefties, you can do the smiles this way. And it'll be a little easier, okay? So just, do whatever is going to come easiest and naturally to you. As long as you get this basic, what's going on? This basic shape. And you got to make sure you're contact piping. Don't try and drop pipe because it's going to work. It ain't going to work. So rest the bag on the parchment. I got so good at contact piping, I almost forgot how to drop pipe. But notice how I sweep off. I don't just stop and lift. Just kind of got to do a little airplane lift off thing. In the center, if you want to do a couple squiggles or whatever, so as long as you have nice tips, you can kind of do stuff. All right? That's number one, piping. And you need about a half a sheet. If you can get this many on a half sheet, you're probably fine. If you're getting less, you want to do 2 half sheets. These are the hardest things. They break easily. So, if you can do more, do more. Don't flip them or anything. Just leave them like that to set up this, as they will. They will curl a little bit, but not to the point of a problem. They're so delicate, you don't want to try and flip them over. Next, I'm going to spread this. And like I was saying already to someone else, if you all 4 of you like this texture, or whatever texture you want to pick out, if you all like it, spread enough to do enough for 4 people. If you want to do 2 people, 1 person, whatever. I don't care. All right. So, little textured mat here. I have them all over there, so you can just choose whatever texture you prefer. I'm just going to do enough for me. You need about 8 to 10 of these little textured squares. All right. And you're going to use we have some rulers behind the microwave over there. Most of them are about the same size as the same width as my ruler here. Just double check it up against it so that you don't end up with something too wide. Because if you have a square that's too big, it's not going to fit on the petit gâteau we put it on. It won't match up. Make sure your spatulas are flat. Bend them if you need to. And you're just going to spread this out. Don't go too thin, especially with the textured mat. You don't want to see the texture through the chocolate, okay? You might see a hint of it, but you don't want to see the plastic, because if you see the plastic, it's not going to be one piece when you unmold it. So for this one, you just have to make sure you're not going too thin. Like right here, you can kind of see that's probably too thin. But for the rest of it, it's probably fine. So maybe shake it around a little, flatten it out, and then I'm just going to transfer it over here and get it to the point where I can cut through it. Now these textured mats are, they're reusable. So when you cut through them, you don't want to cut so hard. Use the tip of your paring knife and don't press too hard. Just press enough to get through the chocolate. Because if you cut in the mats, because I won't have them to use. So for this one, you're going to put your, if you can see, there's a piece of acetate right there. Good, don't slip on your way out. Big blob of chocolate, you don't need to spread it out. I'm just going to kind of tap this up to get it a little higher. And then comb down as straight. God, that wasn't straight. As straight as, oh my God, what's wrong with this? Sorry. I can't talk during that. It's still not straight. There. As straight as you can. Clean these off really well, like on the edge of your bowl, so the next person doesn't necessarily have to wash it to use it. They can just kind of wipe it off a little. We are going to be doing some dark and some white, so maybe it's good to have 2 combs with white, 2 combs with dark, so we don't have to do too much washing. No. Oh my goodness, no. That would be awful. I'm just moving it away from my mess so that I know where the edges are. It makes life easier later. And I will scrape all this up. Now this excess chocolate that you just happen to have is going to be a little thick. So it's probably better to scrape it back into the seed container. People can use it as seed once it sets up, right? So have a little cup available, or just come and get the seed container when you're ready and scrape it back in there. Instead of putting it back into your bowl and then having a chunk, you know. We don't throw away chocolate if we don't have to, okay? So as much as possible, we try to like remelt it, reuse it, whatever. This is setting up, but it's not to the point of completely hard yet, and that's when you want to grab it. And this might take 2 people, but you're just going to stick it into the ring, and then jiggle it out to make some loop-de-loops. Now you want to make sure that they fit to the inside of the ring, so that you have a nice round shape, and that also you don't overlap them. Alright, so like I said, it might take 2 people to help out. And I usually just hold it for just a little bit so that I make sure it stays. The acetate's a little soggy, floppy, and sometimes it'll settle, and it'll be more of an oval than a round. Once it's like starting to hold its own, you can just slide it off to the edge of the table somewhere, well, not too close to the edge, and let it set up in that ring for a bit so that it stays nice and round. Eventually we will unmold those. We're going to be putting all of those on one sheet pan together, so write your initials or something on the outside of the acetate, and then we will be putting 2 people's chocolate garnish per plastic sheet pan. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to cut this. This is now set up enough where I can cut it, but not so set it's so hard. And I'm going to take the dullest knife I have. And I'm just going to start with a straight line, just scoring the chocolate, using the width of my ruler. Now, the tricky part is this side. You have to make sure these are squares, not rhombuses, not anything besides a square. So, use your rulers wisely. Try to match them up good, like I did now.
Would you say that's about an inch?
I would say approximately. But you're just going to use the rulers as guides, so. I got 10, which is perfect. Get yourself your pan with some parchment, and then this you can just flip, and we can leave everything right on the textured mat. We're not going to unmold anything today. So next up is the dark, which I need to microwave real quick. Once we are done with chocolates, I'm assuming everyone's cakes are out or almost out, yeah? Out, almost out. Once we're done with the chocolate and you know no one else is going to need it, I'll open up and shut off all the ovens, and you can just throw the bowls in there, possibly on an inverted sheet pan so it doesn't get too hot. and once they melt out completely, you can just put them back in the warmers. All right, so that's how we're gonna clean that up. Let me just microwave this real quick. So for the dark chocolate, guys, while I just kind of make sure that that is doing what it's supposed to be doing, we're going to be doing some transfer sheets, and we're going to be doing some more, like some loops, but that aren't loops, like sticks. Right. Loops that aren't loops. So for the chocolate triangles that are written down there, you need something approximately this shape, okay? That design, I don't care. You pick whatever design you like. But the shape has got to be somewhat like that. It's like a rectangle, a little shorter than it is wider. So I will leave my stuff up here so you guys can kind of match when it comes to time for you to grab the transfer sheets. Transfer sheets are ready to eat food because they have cocoa butter all over them, so please use gloves when handling. All right, and then for the fun shapes that are on there, something around that surface area is good. It doesn't have to be that shape. Like if it's long and skinny, that's okay, or if it's like a little more square than rectangular, that's fine. Surface area, okay, so about that much. I'm just gonna have both of these ready to go. This way. I'm also going to grab all the tools I need. I need my paring knife. I'm gonna show you how to use a French knife if necessary. I also have some cutters over here that you guys can use. I got, like, I don't know why, but I scarred David, if anyone's interested. I have fall cutters, like leaves and stuff. If you use the fall cutters, I would suggest these sizes. The smallest sizes are the best. We don't need chocolate shapes that are like enormous because it just looks weird when you put a big flat piece of chocolate on a munch. It's a little bit odd. So skinnier, smaller, a little bit better. I have some aspic cutters of different sizes. They really teeny tiny ones are stuck. And I have larger versions of hearts and whatnot. So I like to pick out a couple that I prefer, and I'll show you some different shapes that I'm going to do, and then you guys can decide. My one, look at that, it's all right. One thing I suggest is when you do your fun shapes, is not to fill up your entire transfer sheet with miniature cutouts, because they're really tiny, and they are cute, but you don't need 37 of them. So, like 2 or 3 is okay. We got to do some variety, right? So I'm just going to test that. Hope it's all right. Cutters there. This piece. Oh, a little. This thingy. And a comb. Oh, I'll use this one. I guess it's all right. So we're ready to go again, so that you can just blaze right through the garnish as soon as you. So for these two, you're going to spread them separately, cut them separately, and I'm going to do both at the same time just to cut down on time. So you're looking for a thickness. It's got to be about, I don't want to say 1/8 of an inch, but it's thin so that it looks nice and beautiful on your entremet, but not so thin that you're going to break it as soon as you touch it. So you have to find that for you, whatever that happens to be. For both of these, I've trimmed it so they don't have a lot of blank space, because on transfers there's always an edge. So I have a little bit of blank space, but not too much. Go ahead and spread this. Spread right over the edges. I mean, maybe you can leave a little corner showing if you want, but really it's not important. You just spread it right over the whole thing. Too much chocolate there. You gotta spread chocolate so that when you're done spreading, it's still liquidy. Because if you keep spreading and spreading and then it starts setting, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So spread quickly. Get used to the spreading concept because you're going to be doing it a lot, not always with chocolate, but other stuff in this class. Even spreading is something that, a process you should be working towards. I actually really appreciated your emails. You were all telling me like what you want us to work on, which I think is awesome, because if I can, I reread those emails throughout the class and try to hit on stuff as I see it, like cake cutting and stuff. Tomorrow we'll work on cake cutting, so for those of you that want to work on that, you remind me and I'll come over and work on it with you individually as opposed to just demoing it, you know? So all those little things, well, not all of them, because I can't necessarily help those of you who procrastinate, except to just yell at you to not procrastinate, but, you know, some people said, you know, time management is an issue, and I say to that, I say, welcome to being a student, number 1, and number 2, fix it as soon as you can, because it's only going to get more crazy as you go through life. I just wanted to clean that up because I like to cut. Oops. I'll do that first. I'm going to move this. I like to move them right after I spread them because I don't want them to set up in the blob and I won't know where the edges are, you know what I'm saying? So move it. I'm just going to clean up around it and then put it back just so I can use the cutting board like I like to. So, there's two ways to cut these triangles. These are going to be for your chocolate mousse entremet. You can do it the I have great hand-eye coordination or the I don't have great hand-eye coordination. So you're going to have to decide which one you are. Alright? The width of the base of the triangles is no more than about 1 inch. And they have nice points. If you do not have great hand-eye coordination, take your French knife, you match up the tip, and you cut. But then you have to be careful about releasing because sometimes the chocolate will come with you. So see how I'm doing that? It makes life easier for those that can't wield a paring knife as easily as others. And that's okay, you'll get used to it as you go. Once you've got them cut, and notice how I waited for my chocolate to be like dull but not set. If you wait too long, these are just going to snap as you try and cut them. So catch them as soon as you can. Flip it, because what happens to chocolate when it sets? It contracts, it shrinks, so it starts to curl. So you're going to want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So for the fun shapes, I'm going to start by cutting arced triangles, starting in the same spot and just arcing out a little further each time on a couple of the corners. I like these nice triangular shapes, so I use them a lot. Go in the opposite direction. If you can avoid cutting through the transfer sheet, that will make your life easier later. Oh, I just screwed up the tips. There we go. And then with the base, the rest of it, I'm going to do some donuts. Where I take a large cutter and then a smaller cutter and then either cut right in the center or a little off center is okay too. I like those personally. I like to do some where I have a different shape coming out of the center. Ooh, someone bent this thing. And do some little stars, because who doesn't love a little star? And I also like to do some moon shapes, where I just kind of overlap the two circle cutters like little googly eyes. So, you know, just fill it up with whatever you think you like. Not too many tiny shapes, please. And that'll be that, all right? So that's those two cutouts. And then last but not least, really fast, make sure you have a clean piece of acetate. If you guys screw up any of your loops or bands or anything that has to do with a transfer sheet or a piece of acetate, just like let the chocolate set up and put it in the seed bucket, but get yourself a new piece because they don't work well the second time around. Again, same technique as the roll, but we're just going to leave it flat. So you're still going to use the same size. Chelsea, this is red. It's a little lumpy. You might want to heat up a wee bit, but if you are ready, go for it. Comb, same size, as straight as you can go, which for me apparently isn't that straight. Oh, there you go. That's better. I'll clean that off in a sec. And all I'm going to do with this one is this one just down on my paper, and in a few minutes, once it starts to set up a little, I'm going to flip it. It will curve a little still, but that's okay. Alright? So those are your 6 garnishes.